Hello students, welcome back. So till now you have studied about HTML, various HTML tags, then you have studied about CSS, and the next thing that you are going to study is about JavaScript. Now let me tell you, in the HTML you have seen that it was not a programming language. Basically it was a markup language. So in HTML various inbuilt tags were there, various predefined tags were used. So to create a web page, we need three things. One is HTML, then CSS, and your JavaScript. Now, what each one of them focuses, let's discuss. In HTML mainly focuses on the content of the web page. Okay. Now, CSS mainly focuses on the look and feel of the web page. When we are talking about JavaScript, so JavaScript mainly focuses on the animation, on the dynamicity of the web page. Okay, now see, so what we're going to study for today is what is introduction to JavaScript, how we'll get output in with the help of JavaScript, what is the syntax, different variables, what are the different operators, since JavaScript is very rich in operators, different data types and functions and object. Okay, so coming to the introduction to JavaScript. So we can say that JavaScript is the programming language of HTML and the web page. Although it is said as a scripting language, you can't say it is a programming language. So JavaScript is the scripting language, and if we want to implement some complex feature on our web page, we will be using JavaScript. Okay, so client side. Now, what is JavaScript? It is a scripting language. As you have seen, HTML mainly focuses on the static web pages. What HTML develops, it mainly develops a static web page. Now if I want to change if I want to do dynamic web page, so we will be using our JavaScript. If I want to make some images, if I want to if I on a click event I want to get something changed, suppose you are filling a form and you just click on submit button and then a window appears and it says that your form has been submitted. So you can't do it directly with the help of HTML, since HTML creates a static web page. So to create a dynamic web page, we have to use JavaScript. Okay, and JavaScript is known as a scripting language, and it allows you to implement complex feature on web pages. Okay, so before it was known, JavaScript was known as LiveScript, but Netscape changed its name to JavaScript. Okay, now we can say that Java is using, we have two things. Suppose now this is your browser. Okay, and this is your server, we can say. So browser will be considered as client side, because who is running the browser? We are running the browser, so this is your client side and this is your server side. Okay, so we can say that on this server, when we are requesting, so what happens by requesting, then server will respond. So JavaScript is always a client side scripting language. So JavaScript will always run on our client side, and the client side is our browser. So we have different parsers with the help of which we run the JavaScript. And for JavaScript needs HTML code to run. So you can't run simply your JavaScript code. You need an HTML code to run your JavaScript. Is that clear? So we can say that JavaScript is a client-side scripting language. Now, since JavaScript is one of the most growing web programming language, and has been used by Netflix and many more world known apps and various web pages. So we can see various websites, various web pages, and it is a dynamic computer programming language, and most of the scripting language on the internet, and the web JavaScript runs mainly on all the web browsers. Okay, and we can say that if you are saying that JavaScript is a dynamic programming language, it means it can update both our HTML as well as our CSS. Okay, now again coming to back to client and server, since we are saying that JavaScript is a client side scripting language, it means it will run on the browser, on the client side. That means if we are saying about a client side, specifically we are talking about a web browser, and JavaScript has been supported by mostly all the web browsers. Okay. Now if I am talking about Firefox, so Firefox has Spider Monkey, means every browser has a JavaScript engine. Every browser has a JavaScript engine. Every browser have a JavaScript engine, and in this engine you can see, if you are saying about JavaScript engine, so that Firefox contains Spider Monkey engine. You can see, you will be able to see that Firefox has an inbuilt JavaScript engine that is called as Spider Monkey. We can say Google Chrome has an inbuilt JavaScript engine that is said as V8. So these are the different inbuilt these are the different inbuilt JavaScript engines that you have on your web browser. So let's see once again what is JavaScript. Since we can say JavaScript is the most popular scripting language, and it has been used widely in the recent years. Then JavaScript is a dynamic computer programming language. Then it can calculate, manipulate, and validate data. See, suppose you are filling a form, so you are writing, suppose you are writing your phone number, and in the phone number you have not written the value, you have written something ABCD like this. So a phone number cannot contain the alphabetical order, so alphabetical content, so it must contain your numeric content. So for that JavaScript is used, because it will validate that this is the validation that you will be using, that it must contain only numbers, or a mobile number must contain only 10 digits, 10 digits. So this is how your JavaScript will be working. And most important, JavaScript is a client-side programming language or a scripting language, and it is included in your web browser. And by default, you can say an inbuilt Firefox contain an inbuilt JavaScript engine that is called as Spider Monkey. Chrome contains an inbuilt that is called as inbuilt JavaScript engine that is V8. Okay, so this is your introduction to your JavaScript. Okay, now coming to advantage. Now since JavaScript is a client side scripting language, the first advantage that we are having, that that it has less server interaction. Actually, with the help of JavaScript, we are actually reducing the burden of the server, since we are validating it on our browser side only, that is on our client side. So the work of server has been reduced. Okay. Second is immediate feedback to the user. Now suppose you are filling a form. Okay. In that form there are 10 entries, and you forgot to fill one entry. So the whole web page is not needed to reload. Just on a when you will click on the submit button, it will show you that this field has been left blank. So it gives immediate feedback to the user, and without interacting with the server. So you can see, you don't have to wait for a page reload to see that which entry you have forgotten. So again, it gives an immediate feedback to the visitor. Now JavaScript, as we know that it is very rich in interfaces. It gives a huge amount of rich interfaces that we are getting. So this is the basic advantage of JavaScript, that with the help of JavaScript we have less server interaction, means the load of the server has been reduced. We get an immediate feedback to the visitors, and we have a very rich interfaces. Okay. Now coming to limitations. So somewhere, if we say, if we are using something, it has some advantage as something. If we can say, in client side scripting line, in client side JavaScript, it does not allow reading and routing of files. So it is a disadvantage. We can say, we cannot use it in it cannot be used for networking applications, since JavaScript is not able to support various networking applications. And the last one, that JavaScript does not have any multi-threading or multiprocessor capabilities. Multi-threading means in a program or in a process we have many threads, and these threads run simultaneously, so as to increase the efficiency of a computer. But JavaScript does not have any multi-threading or multiprocessor capabilities. So in the limitations, you can say, for some security reasons, client side JavaScript, it does not allow us to read or write our files. Then we can say that JavaScript cannot be used for any networking applications, and we can say JavaScript does not have any multi-threading or multiprocessor capabilities. Okay. Now in the last previously I have discussed that we are using three things to create a web page, that is HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So what if I am saying about HTML? So I am saying that HTML is a markup language, and this markup language, and it is a markup language, and if I am saying it is a markup language, then basically HTML mainly focuses on giving up the content of the web page, that which content I am writing, structure, that is content, which content I am writing on our web page. Suppose I am writing a paragraph, I am writing a heading, I am using a table, I want to embed my image in the web page. So this will be done with the HTML. So we can say that HTML completely focuses on the content of the web page. Okay. Now if I am saying about CSS, so in the last lecture I have told you that CSS mainly focuses on the look and feel of our web page. If I want to change the look and feel, so we will be using it with the help of CSS. And one more thing, HTML basically provides you a static web page. HTML doesn't provide you a dynamic web page. Now coming to JavaScript, we can say that JavaScript is a scripting language, and it enables you to create dynamically updating our content. Now, I want to update our content dynamically. Means, if I will say that HTML, since we are very well known that HTML is a scripting, is a static web page. It creates a static web page. Now, JavaScript creates dynamic web pages. Now, suppose you are using a Facebook, so every time you refresh you get a new data to see. So this is what, this is a dynamic web page. Every time you refresh a web page you see something new. So this in this way, this can't be done with the only with the help of HTML. So to dynamically update our data, we will be using JavaScript. And it is also used to control multimedia, animate images, pretty, and many more things. Okay. So three things that we will be using properly to create a web page. It will be HTML, it is used to get the content. Then CSS, it is used for look and feel of the web page. JavaScript, it is a scripting language, and it is used to generate the dynamic web pages. And if I am saying about dynamic, it means it will be changing our both the HTML and CSS contents. Okay. Now we have various tools for JavaScript development. Okay, so if I want to develop, first of all we can write simply the JavaScript with in a notepad, and then we can use it. Okay, now we have different, even if I want to use, we can use it on the Microsoft front page, we can use Macromedia Dreamweaver, we can use Macromedia Homesite 5. So these are different various development tools. These are all open source, you can get it over there, and you can download it and you can use. So for starting, you have just use a simple notepad, write it over there, and you will be getting your data. Okay, you will be getting your first web page, and you will be knowing how to create your JavaScript how to create your JavaScript. Okay, now coming to what will be the syntax of JavaScript. Since it is a scripting language, it will be placed inside your script tag. Okay, since I am saying it is a programming language, or we can say it is a scripting language, so we can say what is a program? It is a list of instructions that has to be executed. Suppose I am writing a program in Java and I want these four numbers to get added. So what is this? These are the list of instructions that will be executed by our computer. In the same way, Java also provides a list of instructions that will be executed by our computer. Okay, by our browser. So, and all the JavaScript statements are separated by semicolon. Okay. Now coming to next thing, you will be writing like this. Suppose there are two ways to write. First, I am showing you a script, and then in the script tag you will be writing your JavaScript code. Okay. Next thing you can see. In the recent you can see that JavaScript has used two attributes. What are attributes? Attributes mean that it will add additional information to the computer. So you can see script language is equal to JavaScript. Just a second. Script language is equal to JavaScript. Type is equal to text oblique JavaScript, and you can place your content over here. So it means script is a tag, and it is using two attribute, language, and which language you are using, it is your JavaScript, and which type, it is text oblique JavaScript. As you have seen in CSS, you are using type is equal to in double quotes test oblique CSS. So in the same way you can use it for this, okay, for this script, for this JavaScript language. Now there are two things. You can write it directly like this also. JavaScript is equal to JavaScript in, and this you can place over here. In this also you can write script language is equal to JavaScript, type is equal to text and oblique JavaScript, and then you can place your JavaScript code. Okay. Now what I am saying, in the latest version of JavaScript, in the latest version of HTML, it's not compulsory to write your language. Okay, language attribute is not compulsory. We will be seeing in the upcoming program that this attribute is not compulsory. Okay, so to write a JavaScript, the tag must be placed, the JavaScript code must be placed inside the script tag with two attributes, one is language and one is text. Okay, now coming to JavaScript output. Now you know, to get an output we have to write something. Suppose I want to get an output in Java, what we write? System.out.println. Suppose I want to get some output on the screen in C, then we write it as printf. Suppose in C++ we write cout. So these are the ways we can get the output in different languages. Now suppose I want to get output in my JavaScript. So JavaScript code can be placed in the body section or it can be placed in the head section. It is again both way. We can do it is it in internal format or we can do it in an external format. So but the JavaScript code must always be inserted between the script tag. Okay, it must be always be inserted into the script tag. Now if I want to show the display in different ways, so if I am writing something and I want the first thing, suppose you are writing an output program and then you want window to show you that you have a pop-up window must appear and it must show you, so you will write window dot alerts. Okay, if I want to get a simple output on the screen, we will be writing document dot write. If I want to use a specific HTML element, if I want to use a paragraph, on that paragraph some dynamic changes must appear, we will be using inner HTML. And then if I want to write on the browser console, we will be using console.log. Okay, so these are the four different ways in which you can see the JavaScript output. Now we will be seeing one by one. Okay, one by one. Okay, coming to document.write. If I want to use something for testing purposes, it is always very convenient to use document.write. Now let's see this with the help of a program. Now see, again you are writing the same way as you have written your HTML programs, that doc type HTML body. Okay, in the body, as I have said, you can mention your script tag either in the body or in the head section of your HTML. Okay, so if you are writing in the body my first web page and in the paragraph you have written my first paragraph, so here comes your HTML. This is your HTML code. Now here so I am very sorry, this is your JavaScript code. Okay, here you are writing a script and then you are writing document.write, that is 5 plus 6. Now and you are closing your script tag. So when you will see the output, you will be seeing, when you will run this program, you will be seeing my first page, then my first paragraph, and you will be seeing its output, that is 11. So this is how you will be using your document.write, and in this way you can see the output. Okay, so the first way that you will be getting the output in the JavaScript will be like this, that you use with the help of using document.write. Now coming to second thing, suppose I want to create it dynamically. Suppose I want to create a dynamic web page, and in that I want that after clicking we get some different output. So for that you will be seeing, now what you have done here, over here you are seeing in the over here you see what you have done. Button type is equal to button, and on click, as soon as you click, on click is an event. On click document.write 5 plus 6, it will be 11, and the button name will be given as try button, and then this. Okay, now see, the first you will be getting like this your output. First of all you will be getting your output in this format. Okay, as soon as you click over your try button, what you will be getting? 11, since it is an on click event and it has been applied. So this is what I am saying, that these are the variations, these are the different things that we can do it with the help of HTML, with the help of JavaScript. Now as soon as you are using document.write and you are using an event over it, what it does, it removes all your HTML properties. This means this first web page, my first paragraph, all these has been removed, and on the web page you will be getting only 11. So this is how it works. Now next is using inner HTML. Now if I want to use some, if I want to define some HTML content, if I want to define some HTML, if I want to define some HTML element, then we will be using inner HTML. It means, now see, you can see it with the help of a program. Just a second. Now see, that you are using here document dot get element ID. You have written it in the script. Okay, document dot get element by ID. This is the method that you will be using. Okay, now here you have written demo, then you have written inner HTML. Okay, so there are four different things. You have written document dot get element by ID. That means it is a JavaScript method, okay, on which specifically you can act on an specific HTML element. Okay, then you have used demo. It is the name ID, it is the name of an HTML ID that you will be giving. Okay, then inner HTML defines the HTML content on which you are placing. Okay, so you have written here first h1, then your paragraph ID. So this is your ID and its name should be unique. So on this paragraph you want this HTML document to appear, this JavaScript code to appear. So what will happen, as soon as you write document dot get element by ID and you are writing here demo, that means this paragraph demo will be linked over here. Dot inner HTML, it defines which HTML content you are using. So it is 5 plus 6. So as you can see, the what output you will be getting, my first web page, then my first paragraph. In the third paragraph, using JavaScript code, and you are using demo ID of this paragraph, so it will be showing you, the output over here. See, let's see the output. Now see, first thing, that on the first paragraph, on first heading you are getting as my first web page, then on the second you are getting my first paragraph, and on the third you are getting as 11. That means on this paragraph you are actually getting the JavaScript code that you are running over here. Since you have used the ID name as unique as demo, and this ID is placed over here, so you will be getting output as 11. So we can say, using inner HTML, if I want to get changes on some specific HTML elements, we can use using inner HTML element of HTML property. Okay, so and the method that JavaScript will be using will be document.getElement by ID. Is that clear? And in the bracket you will be writing the specific ID. Okay, so now you have studied two ways, document.write and inner HTML. Now next we will be focusing what is JavaScript variables. So which variables you will be using. Now see, in the JavaScript there is no specific way that you have to write this is a variable. Just the keyword var is used. Simply you will be using var, and this var will be used as the JavaScript variable. Suppose there are three different variables x, y and z, and you have to store them. Then you will be writing var x is equal to 5, var y is equal to 6, and suppose you want to add these two elements, then var z is equal to x plus y, and you want to get this output on this paragraph. So what you will be doing, document.getElement by ID demo, since the ID name is demo over here, so you will be writing demo dot inner HTML is equal to, this is in the double quote, so it will appear as it is on your screen, the value of z is plus z, that means plus 11. Okay, so this is how you will be getting. Now this, let's see the output. The output, in the output you can see it is writing JavaScript variables, since in the heading you have written, then it is written in this example x, y and z are variables and the value of z is 1. Now let's have a look again. that var is the keyword that is used to store your variable. For any variable you want to, suppose you want to declare a variable in JavaScript, you will be using var keyword. Okay, that is var. Okay, and then you can store your value, you can change, you can add, subtract, or you can get some you can do any of the operation, and you can say store the value in different variable. The only way to declare a variable in JavaScript is var, is with the help of keyword var. So all the variables that will be declared in JavaScript will be var. Okay, now window.alert, next that thing that you, the next way to get your output, since you have seen two ways, document.write, then you have seen inner HTML document.get element by id in bracket double quotes double in bracket io id name dot inner HTML is equal to which paragraph is equal to, just a second, is equal to which variable you want to store. Okay, now the third thing that you will be seeing is window.alert. Means window.alert means if I want a pop-up to appear, then you will be using the word as the key with the method as window.alert. Okay, so in this you are seeing that we have been using my HTML, then document body. In the body you have written a heading and paragraph. In that same way you have written your HTML output, you have written your JavaScript code, and you are writing here window.alert 5 plus 6. That means whenever you will run this program, you will see the window gets a pop-up box like this, and this it will say that an embedded page on this page says 11, since you have added 5 plus 6, since you have added 5 plus 6. And as soon as you click here OK, you will be getting your next output of the HTML document, that is my first web page and my first paragraph. So with the help of using window.alert, you can get a pop-up window and it will show you the output. Next is JavaScript operators. As I have said that JavaScript is very rich in operators, and you all have studied what are arithmetic operators, means plus, minus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, then increment and decrement. All these are different arithmetic operators, and all these are operators are being supported by JavaScript. Second operator comes assignment operator, means plus equal to, minus equal to. These are the different assignment operators. Now coming to string operators. Since as I have mentioned, we have to use to declare a variable, we will be using a keyword var, and then if I am writing txt is equal to John. Okay, now string operators, so it will use, it will add these strings and it will show the output that var txt1 is equal to John, then var txt2 is equal to Do. So if I am writing var txt3 is equal to txt1 plus double quotes then plus txt2, so the result will be John Doe. This is the various the string operators. Then we can use, we can add our string operator, then we can add our strings. Okay, that is concatenate our string. Okay, now next is JavaScript logical operators. We have logical and, we have logical or, we have logical not. These are the different logical operators. So JavaScript provides mainly many types of operators: arithmetic operator, assignment operator, string operator, logical operator, and these are the different operators. Now coming to JavaScript data type. Okay, so we have used JavaScript hold many data types. There are numbers, then we can use strings, then we can use as an object, we can use boolean operator. Okay, boolean data type. Now see how. Just see, we can have, if I'm writing var, there is no specific way that in the in C or in Java you write, if you want to have an integer you will be writing int x is equal to 15, so that is integer. If I'm writing a string, then string a is equal to, in double quotes I will be writing something. So in Java or in C++ to declare, you have to write your data type, that is integer, float, double, character, boolean, etc. Okay, but if I am saying about data types in JavaScript, we will be using var keyword, we will be using the variable name, and we will be using our number, we will be using our value. Suppose I am writing here 16, it will be considered as a number. Okay, if I am writing here Johnson in double quotes, that means it will be considered as a string. Again you are not specifying here that it is integer. Since it is integer, but it is not compulsory that you have to write that it is your integer. Okay, since okay, so you have to just write the keyword that is var, and then you will write your variable name, and then is equal to put some value. If you are writing a number, it will be considered as a number. If I am writing it in double quotes, it will be considered as a string. Okay, now it also, there is also data type that is object. Now suppose I want to group many names into many things into one, then we will be using object. We will be discussing objects in detail in the upcoming slides. Okay, next is javascript boolean. Suppose I want to have the as you all know, boolean contains only two values, true and false. So boolean is also used in java. Okay, now again we are seeing array. JavaScript, one more thing that JavaScript data types contain, that is array. Now what about array? What is array? Array is basically collection of similar type of data. Suppose I am saying I want to collect 10 matlab I want to collect many similar type of data. So we will be using arrays. As we all know, array is always array means that it contains similar type of data, and all the arrays in the JavaScript are written in square bracket. If I want to write some array in JavaScript, I will be writing like this in the square bracket. Okay, this is way we will be writing. Okay, that is suppose variable name. Again, it's not compulsory to define which type, integer, float, double, character, string, nothing. Just write the keyword var, then the variable name is equal to, then you will be writing it in the square bracket, and then with the help of comma you will be writing, and in the double quotes you will be writing your values. Okay, so you will be getting like this, and when you have to access you have to use the variable name, that is cars, and which position you want to access. Since in the array, you know, it always start with 0, then 1. In the indexing always start in the array with 0, so we will be using like cars 0. So that means I'm talking about SAVB. Then if I'm writing cars 1, then I'm talking about Volvo. So in this way we can access our JavaScript arrays. Okay, so JavaScript arrays, what are arrays? Arrays are basically similar data type, collection of similar types of data. Then JavaScript arrays are always written in the square bracket. Coming to next, JavaScript functions. Now coming to JavaScript functions. As you know what functions are used, if I want to group some different, I want to various tasks to be performed, and I want each task to performed in a specific function, so I will be writing it in the function. And in JavaScript, what you have to do, that in the JavaScript you have to write the function with the help of function keyword. Okay, so this function is written, the function keyword is used, then your function name whichsoever you want to write the name, and the parameters you want to put, and here your code will be going opening and closing brackets, curly brackets. So if I want to write a JavaScript function, I will be using JavaScript keyword, and this keyword will help us to write the JavaScript code. Okay, in the function with the help of functions. Okay, so first thing that you have seen, function declaration. To declare a function, what you have to write? Write function, then function name whichsoever you want, then in the bracket you will write some parameters, add some parameters, and here your code will be executed. Okay, now see, just see an example how you will be doing your program for the JavaScript functions. Now see, you have written HTML. In the HTML body, in the body you have written your JavaScript code, as you can see over here, that in the body you have written your JavaScript code. Okay, now you are using in the p id is equal to demo, that means you are using inner HTML value in the function, and you will be, you want on this paragraph that your JavaScript value appears, JavaScript output appears. Okay, so you are creating, to create your function, what you have written in the script code, just see over here, in the script code you have written function, that is function, this is the keyword, that to create a function in JavaScript you need function keyword, then function name. Okay, then you will be adding two parameters, or you are adding two parameters. Okay, in the bracket you are writing return, so it is a return type, return a asterisk b. Okay, now here this is how you will be declaring your function. Okay, that function name, then function name, parameters, and here the various code that I want to get executed will be written over here, and then I will be writing. Now suppose I want this to appear in this variable. See, I am writing var x is equal to my function, since the name of my function is my function 4 comma 3. So as soon as this code will run, this code will execute, it will check whether we have a function name as my function. So it will check over here and it will come to this part. Okay, as soon as it will come to this part, it will be seeing in my function it is written 4 comma 3. So a will be 4 and b will be 3, and then it will go inside and it will return as a asterisk b. So it will multiply these both things and it will return 12. Now where it will return 12. Now this 12 will be returned over where? This 12 will be returned over x variable. Okay. Now this 12 is returned. Now where you want to get this output? This x is getting output on document dot get element by id, that in demo, and this demo is specific over for which paragraph? Over this paragraph, and this id is created as unique. So document dot get element by id, just a second, document dot get element by id demo dot inner html, it means on which html content you want to apply, is equal to x. Okay, now see with all the output, the heading will be I will be getting as it is javascript function, and then on the paragraph id it is demo, so it will be returning as 12, and the output you are seeing here as 12. Just a second, you are getting as 12. This is how javascript function will be working. See, you are writing here function, this is your function, then this function value is stored over here, and this value has been, this value, that is x value, has been printed over here, and this x value has been stored over this html element. This is how it will be working. Okay, now moving to next, how you will use javascript expression. If I want something to appear as it is, okay, so we will be using as a function expression. Okay, now and it will be stored in a variable, as I am writing over here that var x is equal to function in bracket a comma b return a asterisk b. Again this is function. Function is a keyword that we will be using to generate a function in javascript, then function parameters, then the code to be executed. And if I want this to appear exactly in my web page, so we can use it. Now let's see how. You can see again that paragraph a demo, okay, function. Now pid is equal to demo, again you are using get element by id, the dot inner html. Now you are storing this whole in the x, so whatever is stored in this variable x will be given to demo, and this demo has been used in this paragraph, so it will be giving you output. Okay, now JavaScript objects. Suppose I want to contain, I want a variable name to have many different values. So we will be using my JavaScript objects. We can say JavaScript are also JavaScript objects are also variables, but I want to store different values. So we will be using object. Now suppose I am writing a person. Okay, just suppose I'm saying I'm saying a name of a person. So it may have its first name, it may have its first last name, his age, his height, his weight. So all these come in the different values. So if I want all these values to come in a single place, we will be using JavaScript object. Let's see how. You are writing var person. So you are creating an object is equal to bracket open, and then first name colon John, last name colon Doe, then age and eye color. So you are using 4 different properties, that is value names, that is first name, last name, age and color. So this will be stored in where? In the variable name, that is person. So if I want to get a feature of an object, we will be using it as an object and various values will be given. Now, if I want to access any property of an object, we will be using it with the dot notation. Suppose I am writing my call dot make is equal to 4. So actually I am using the property name and my object name to access of any object, to access any property of a JavaScript object. Okay. Now, as you all know that JavaScript is a case sensitive language. So you have to make sure that you are using it properly. Okay, now suppose let's create an object. Here we are seeing my car and give its property. Just I'm creating in this way. You can use either the new keyword or you can use it in this format also, that where person is equal to this. You can create in this way, and also you can create in this way, that where my car, that is this is the variable name, is equal to new object. That means you have created a new object. Now my car is the name of the variable, then dot make, that means it is the property name, is equal to Ford, then my car dot model is equal to Mustang, then my car dot year. So different properties, that property that you are using is make, car is make, model and year. So and the object name is car. So this object is holding the various values. So this is what a JavaScript object means. If we are holding, if we are creating a variable name and if it is holding various values, so we will say that these are the different JavaScript objects. Now see how you will be creating your program. Okay, now see again, you are creating a JavaScript, then id is equal to demo. That means you are getting it by get element by id demo inner elements. Okay, now you want to update in this paragraph the name of the person. So in the script tag, again you are using it in the script tag. In the script tag you have written something. Now let's see, over from here to here. Now you see where person is equal to first name, last name, age and color. So where person is the name of the object. Then these first name, last name, age and color are the different variables, are the different properties, and you are mentioning over here. Now in the end you are writing document dot get element by id. Then you are writing demo. That means you are saying about this paragraph dot inner html dot inner html. That means you are talking about this paragraph element is equal to, as I have said, that you can access the property using dot operator. So you are writing person. What is person? Person is the variable name, okay, of the object name, person dot first name. So what it will be accessing? John, right? Then again you are accessing person dot last name, so it will be accessing Doe. So this is how you can access your JavaScript object. Now the output that you are getting is creating a JavaScript object, and in the second paragraph you are getting John Doe. That means this for this paragraph you are getting the output from this JavaScript code. Now if I am saying about the object constructor, as we all know what is constructor. In the constructor you can say the name of the object, and what is constructor, what, as you all know what is constructor, the class name and the method name is same, so we can say that it is a constructor. Okay, now if I am writing an object, if I am writing that where person is equal to new object, that means I am creating an instance, and this instance is pointing to new object. Okay, now let's see this the program. Here you are creating. Now here you can see that you are writing it in the head section. So there is no issue. You can write your JavaScript code either in the head section or in the body section, doesn't matter. Okay, now see, script type is equal to text oblique JavaScript. Then you are creating an object name, that is var book, and it is equal to new object. So new object has been created. The name of the object will be book. Now book dot subject, this is your property and it is perl, then book dot author. So these are the four. If you are creating the object, then you are assigning the properties. Okay, now coming to next. Now coming to script type is equal to text. Now if I want to get it on my computer screen, on my web page, not computer screen, on my web page, when we will run. So if I want, I will be writing script tag is equal to text oblique JavaScript. Okay. Now see, document dot write book name is book dot subject. That means I am accessing this object property. Again, book name is book dot author. I am accessing the property of this object, and how output will be getting, that is book name is equal to Perl, that is, and Perl is where stored in the new object, and then book author is equal to Mutashim, then it will be stored in the it is again stored in this script type JavaScript code. So by accessing this JavaScript code we will be getting a output. Now what is dynamic HTML? So till now you have studied what is JavaScript, what are the different types of, what are the different data types used in JavaScript. how JavaScript code is written, then what are different JavaScript functions, what are different JavaScript operators, then what is JavaScript object. Now one more thing that you must see, what is DHTML. DHTML means dynamic HTML. Dynamic, what does dynamic means? That means it is an interactive web page and it will help you to interact with the user. Okay, so you can see dynamic HTML, it means the content of the web page can be customized. Suppose you are using using Instagram, so it keeps refreshing now. So that is, it is a dynamic web page. It is interacting with the user. You click a button, you like something, you share something. So this is how dynamic HTML means. If and we all know that HTML is simply used to create a static web page, and if I want to create a dynamic web page, you will be using DHTML. Okay, now suppose, as we know that HTML defines the content, CSS defines the various CSS defines the look and feel. So both HTML and CSS, help us to create very good static web pages, but they cannot create our dynamic web pages. So if suppose we are thousands of users are now, if I want to create the dynamic web page, what we will do? Suppose thousand users are there, and all of them want to get an admit card. So thousand static web pages cannot be created now. So if I want to get a if by some means if I get the dynamic HTML dynamic web pages, so it will be easy. Since we are not able to create thousand static web pages and generate an admit card for each and every student, so to solve this problem, DHTML was used. Okay, so DHTML included JavaScript along with HTML and CSS to make the page dynamic. Okay, now when you will be using dynamic HTML, it will use the HTML, JavaScript and CSS, and it will help us to use the it will help our web page to make it dynamic, and then it will help to eliminate the problem of static web pages. Okay, now when you will integrate JavaScript into HTML, then a document object model is made for the HTML document. Okay, so in a nutshell, we can say that DHTML is used to create dynamic web pages. Since HTML cannot create dynamic web page, so if we want to create a dynamic web page, we will be using dynamic HTML. Okay, dynamic HTML includes JavaScript, HTML and CSS. Okay, so thank you class, and if you all have any query, you can put it in your comment section, and do study it again. Okay, thank you class.